All right, and welcome everybody. This is Sherman Ray, and this is the Godstream podcast. And I'm come to you a couple times a week here in Vegas, talk to you about anything and everything that actually comes to my mind that really has to do with the topics of the day. Let's just put it that way. The topics of the day from a Christian perspective. And we've got a pretty interesting show for you today. And the title of today's show is The Master Marketers, the Democrat Party. They're the master marketers. And what do I mean by that? Well, the Democrat Party started out as a political party, and but they've morphed into more than that. They've turned themselves into a product placement, and not only just product placement, but more than that, they've created a marketing machine. And what do I mean by that? They've been able to convince an unsuspecting people that left is right, right is left, up is down, and down is up, and people buy it. That's what marketers do. Marketers are able to tell you that something that may potentially not be good for you is actually good for you. Kind of like cigarette guys. Cigarette manufacturers for years told everybody, hey, guess what? This is the greatest thing in the world. Puff, puff, puff. It's great. And then, of course, people get lung cancer and they die. And they go, oh, but no. There's no cancer-causing agent in cigarettes. Okay. So they're able to convince you of that. As a matter of fact, many of you probably found out, or have probably heard this before, that the reason why women shave their legs has nothing to do with hygiene. No, it has nothing to do with hygiene at all. What it has everything to do with, though, is marketing. Yeah, the manufacturers of Gillette wanted to sell these razor blades, and the only way they could do that was by convincing the American public that it was cool and it was hygienic for women to shave their armpits and their legs. And so that's why women today would not be caught dead without, shaving their parts. Has nothing to do with hygiene. Okay. Well, the Democrat Party has done the same thing. We see today where the elected officials you've got Joe Biden, the current president of the United States, 80 years old-ish, and obviously not in the best of physical, shape, obviously not in the best mental shape. And people have been saying something about this over and over and over again. They were saying, hey, Joe Biden is not in physical shape. He's not in mental shape. He's fallen down. He's doing all this other stuff. He's doing all kinds of things. He's saying things that just doesn't make sense. And so what they do is they said, hey, guess what? Let's get with Hollywood and let's see if we can do something to bump up his image. And so what did they do? They said, well, don't run away from your age, Joe. Use your age as a way of saying you're a wise and venerable sage. Not a doddering old fool. Not a guy who should be doing something else. No, my wisdom is something great. And so people said, yes, that makes sense. Yes, he's So if you think I'm wrong on this, let's think about John Fetterman. John Fetterman, who ran for Senate in Pennsylvania, was and still is. Bless his heart. He had a stroke less than 2 years ago, or something like that. Lost basically half his brain capacity. Can't speak. Can't think. And they were able to package this guy to such a point that people actually voted for him. They voted for him, and he won the senatorial race in his state over Mehmet Oz, who's obviously the better candidate, who's obviously a more coherent guy, obviously the smarter guy, obviously the better qualified for the job. But they were able to market this Fetterman guy and get him across the line. Is that crazy? Let's go back. Let's go back in time a little bit, folks. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the Democrat Party and what it has been over the years, and how crazy it is now that people would actually even think about voting Democrat, especially if you're a Christian. I want to say again, this is a Christian show. If you are voting for the Democrat Party, folks, we're praying for you right now. And we'll reveal some things here that you've got to know, because this is what you are supporting as a Christian. And what does the Word say about this? So, Democrat Party was started many, many years ago. Many, many years ago, back in the 1700s. And slave state owners, majority of those, probably 90% of them at least, were Democrats. These slave-holding states, you're talking about Georgia and Florida, down that area, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, that kind of stuff. They fought for slavery to keep slavery alive. And how did they convince their people to think that it was cool to own another person and to enslave another person, to beat another person? Oh wow! And that's what happens when you have a live show. They were able, and this is a marketing job, that Democrats were able to tell their people and the nation that owning slaves was not only their right as human beings, but it was their culture. And so, as culturally, they said, you know what, this is what we do. And people bought it. Not to the point where they said, you know what, we'll let you live as you live. They fought and they died in the bloodiest battle on American soil. More people lost their lives in the Civil War than all of our wars since then put together. Let me say that again. More people lost their lives for slavery to keep black people, Africans, enslaved than any other battle we had on American soil or in any war we've had combined. That's a marketing job, folks. And it didn't stop there. After slavery was over with and Republicans won and freedom came to the slaves, the next thing that happened was Jim Crow laws and Reconstruction and the KKK. And Democrats, once again, were able to convince people who agreed with them politically that black people should not vote, black people should be, and anybody who agreed with black people and giving black people rights, that they should be killed. That's what we're talking about, the KKK. The KKK didn't just kill black folks. They killed anybody. And those were all Democrats who did this. These were not Republicans who did this, folks. These were Democrats who created the KKK. They created Jim Crow laws. They created segregation and racism in America. These Democrats were able to convince half the country, if not more, that yes, that this was the best way for America to be. We continue on with the ugly, the most heinous thing that's ever happened in America is the abortion issue. Back in the 1970s, early 70s, the Democrat Party was able to convince the Supreme Court of the United States that voting for a woman's right to have an abortion was all right. Yeah, that killing a baby was not only good, but as they continued on with this after Roe was voted upon and became the law of the land, that for the next 50 years, they called abortion women's health care. Now that's a sales job right there, folks, where you can call the killing of a baby women's health care. Doesn't matter how you slice it, folks. Abortion is killing a baby. That baby has a different DNA, different fingerprints, different blood type, different eyes, nose, ears, all this other stuff. The mother carries that child to term, but that baby is a separate individual in their womb. The word says, before you were even born, God says, I knew you. He says, I knew you before you were even born. I had plans for you. So the word says, guess what? That baby that was going to be aborted, that God's already got that life planned out for them. But Democrats were able to convince so many women, even to this day, even after Roe v. Wade has been overturned, that abortion is not a cool thing, but women believe that it's still their right, and it's their right to kill a baby. And whose gets aborted the most? The number one killer of African Americans is not inner city shooting. It's not black on black crime. It's not police killing blacks. The number one killer of blacks in America is abortion. Look it up. And yet, blacks who vote overwhelmingly for the Democrat Party are willing to vote for a group of people who started out as enslaving blacks, fought and died to enslave blacks, during Reconstruction, fought and died for KKK, Jim Crow laws, segregation, racism in America, which a lot of people continue to say that it's a systemic thing, but those were Democrats who systemically created racism in America. And these same blacks now are saying to themselves, oh yes, I'll vote Democrat. I think that makes sense. These people want to help us now. They want to give us welfare, which helps you do nothing. It helps you to be a slave economically. They want to fight for abortion, which once again kills you. They want to get rid of police, to defund police, because they fought for that also. And what does that do? Once again, it kills inner city blacks. Predominantly, overwhelmingly more blacks are killed in the inner city because there is no safety in the inner city. And yet blacks, because of a sales job by the Democrat Party, are able to vote overwhelmingly for the Democrat Party. And that's a marketer. I'll tell you, if you want somebody to create something that makes absolutely no sense and get people to buy it, you want a Democrat to do it for you. You want a Democrat to you want the people in the Democrat Party, and we're not talking all Democrats are doing this, folks. We're talking about the Democrat Party, the machine that gets people elected who shouldn't be in office, who pass legislation that shouldn't be passed. That's what we're talking about. It is a cabal that has created the most unsavory climate in American history. Last one. The last couple of things. We've already talked about abortion. We've talked about civil war. We've talked about racism. We've talked about all kinds of craziness that's gone on here. We've talked about Joe Biden and John Fetterman. Now we're talking about the whole transgender thing, where the Democrat Party has been able to convince people that, yes, people who believe that they are an opposite sex that they were born, that is akin to civil rights, and that they should fight for people who obviously have an emotional and mental issue and a spiritual issue, that's all right. And if you say anything about it, you can be put in jail. Under Democrat laws, this is not Republican laws, these are Democrat laws the Democrats have pushed through, and in some cases you can be arrested for speaking out against that craziness. That they fight for transgender people as though that is reality, when it's not reality. A man will never be a woman. A woman will never be a man. If you bury them both in the ground right now, and you dig them up 1,000 years from now, an archaeologist will say that's a man, that's a woman. No matter what you say in your mind. You can feel all you want, but the reality is that if you were born a man, you're a man. If you were born a woman, you're a woman. You'll never be the other. It doesn't matter how much you dress up like one, no matter how much people try to coddle you and try to tell you how good you look in that skirt, guys. You will never be a woman. We don't hate you. We want to pray for you. And we want to make sure that you are taken care of. But the sales job that has been put forth now by Democrats is that that's all right. And they're forcing companies, they're forcing nations, they're forcing individuals, and they're putting the hammer down on people that they're fearful of saying the truth. But we here at Godstream are not afraid to say the truth, because it's the truth. The truth is that the Democrat Party is the biggest con job that there's ever been on this planet. And that Christians, if you are voting for Democrats, you are a part of the problem. If you're giving money to them, if you're encouraging them, if you're supporting them in any shape or form, you're going against what the Bible says. The Bible says, guess what? In the beginning, God created man and woman. That's all there is to it. That's the end of the story right there. The Bible says, guess what? God says, before you were born, I knew you. I had plans for you. Which means, guess what? Abortion is wrong. The second sin that ever happened on this planet was Cain and Abel. Death is not part of God's plan. And it's definitely not a woman's right to kill a baby, no matter how much they call it women's health. And that we should love each other, folks. We should love each other. It doesn't matter what we believe, doesn't matter what political affiliation we have, that we should love one another like we love ourselves. And we should try to do everything we can do to help each other. And that's really what it's all about, folks. It's really all about loving each other. But we as Christians cannot just allow a lie to permeate and to expand and metastasize in our community. We've got to call it like it is and stand up against it. Stand up proudly against it and say that this is not a good thing. So this has been Sherman Ray for Godstream Podcast. We hope you enjoy this, folks. Check us out on our website at godstream.org, where you can upload your video, your Christian video, your family-friendly video. Literally, folks, we are going through those videos as fast as we can to try to get them uploaded on our website. There's thousands of them that have been submitted, and so we're working as hard as we can to get those up as quickly as we possibly can, because there's so many great videos up there. So go to our website, godstream.org. You can check out our podcast here either on YouTube or on Spotify. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're always on Twitter all the time talking about the latest and the greatest things that are going on. And if you want to write to us at godstream7@gmail.com. That's godstream7@gmail.com. Once again, Sherman Ray. Thank you, folks, for being a part of the show. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.